disjointed, and we'll come to the point of those later as we build in information. So there's a couple of lessons that we did from the first week, which I'm getting to a couple of points that I had made reference to at that stage. But there's some other information we got to look at in between. So, all right, so anyway, this is part of that information. We've got to learn how to exchange these types of hooks to be able to look at how I can expose the back, right? So a lot of what we're doing is based off this, like yesterday, hip over the leg, hip under the leg, hook inside the leg, hook around the leg, and that's with your leg, right? Okay, so I'm gonna do a basic sweep first. Well, actually, I could do the harder one first if you guys want. But the basic one is it's really easy. There's no threat of losing a position, really, if you mess it up. So it's a very low risk, and it has a decent reward to it. Do you guys want to do that one first, the easy one?
Easy one or hard one?
Let's just go for the easy one. Okay, I don't know if anybody's responding, so let's just go for the easy one.
Oh, yeah, Jose says easy, and
Okay.
Abby says easy too.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna start in the half guard, right? So you guys can see, I'm on the bottom, my leg's in half guard here, right? The guy that's on top is gonna be approaching. And the reason I'm facing away from you at the moment, so you can see that what the active component is. So in this sweep, I'm gonna take the sleeve, right? And I'm just gonna block the wrist. So the guy's gonna be pressuring forward. So as I'm here, I need this hand locked into my hip like this. And the reason why I'm doing this is so that it's very easy for me to just turn the guy over. The arm is blocked, and then I can come up. So it looks like I'm just exchanging positions, right? And really, that's what it is. But the sweep is so basic in its function that it doesn't actually look like a sweep. It just looks like you guys are both guys are intentionally changing positions. Let me have the dummy do it to me, and I'll be the fall guy on this one. It's gonna be easy, okay? So the guy's gonna grab my sleeve, right? And then the hand tucks. So all you're doing is this, right? And then just keeping the hand plastered to the guy's hip or inside your hip. So your leg can be like this, and your hand would be grabbing the hand here, and then just holding. So the idea is you don't want my hand to come out if you change directions and put the base down. Okay, so you don't want me to catch my own fall. So the other thing that's happening is this leg here is acting like a lever point. So the leg is going like this. So my hip is on top and the leg is doing this. It's just nudging me over. So there's two parts of the sweep. There's the wrist is being blocked, so my hand can't come out and defend my position, so it's easier for me to fall over, right? It's like having a table with 3 legs on it. By holding the wrist, you're taking out one of the legs, and this is just a little bit of a nudge to help the guy over, okay? So half guard. So you're gonna have to do this, right? So I'm acting as the guy being attacked right now, but you would be playing from this position, all right? But it's gonna be easier for me to show a realistic position as the top guy, okay? So you're holding the sleeve, and you're looking for the guy to come forward. And any little motion where the guy comes forward, you can tilt the guy over. So this leg, you're the bottom guy, you're using this leg on the inside, your foot, right, is on the, you guys, I don't know if you can see it here. Your foot's on the ground like this, and you're gonna use it, so you put pressure into the foot to rock the knee forward, so my hip breaks the balance, right? So I'm losing my position now because the knee is coming there. So you're using a fulcrum, right? The knee is nudging me over. Just do it with the leg down, okay? Your leg would be up, but I'll do it with the leg down, okay? So you're holding the sleeve here. So you're holding my sleeve. Then as the leg nudges, as I'm coming forward, it's easy to then tilt me. You see how my arm is trapped? The guy always tries to catch his balance, and then you take this second hand, put it inside the hip, and then you just come up this way. So you'll gain the sweep that way. The reason why you're doing the hip on the hand is because there's a moment as I come over, right, where the guy will come over, and if you don't push the hip, the guy will push, he'll bring his hand down, and he'll push himself back to change the position. So you need this hand to block the hip. So as I'm doing that, you've already set up a defense for it. This is like a second stage maneuver. So only thing you need to do to be able to solidify the new position, okay, to make it concrete. If you don't do this, the guy will pop back up. All right, so very easy sweep, super easy, right? And I know when you guys do it, you'll be like, oh, coach said it was easy, but it's not that easy. I don't actually think that's going to happen. I think it's so simple that you guys should be able to catch it very, very easily. Just hold the guy's sleeve and use your leg, this leg, so on the gray gi, this leg to use the knee to push me over. Okay, then you'll trap the guy. Now, most of this is about timing, which that in itself is the problem, right? So let's go to this side now. Because then timing is something you have to learn from experience a lot of times. So it's like, when is the right time to do this? Okay, and the answer to this particular sweep is the right time to do this is as the guy's pushing towards you at all, right? If you feel a guy moving towards you at all, just do it. If the guy's retreating from you, don't do it, okay? It's really like, it's that black and white with this sweep. So if the guy's really going hard, pushing in too hard, you have a huge upside. You have a massive opportunity to take this sweep. If the guy's drawing back at all, if he's drawing back a lot, or even a little bit, don't do it because you're gonna give away the game. If you try to do the sweep and you miss, you don't get a second chance, which means you have an option to ditch it. We go to the second option, right? But you have an option to ditch it and you just don't keep going at it because it's so easy to defend once you know it that it's not worth continuing to chip away at. Okay, some sweeps are, this is not one of them, it's a one-off. You hit it, it's amazing, it's very frustrating to the guy, or you miss it and you move on, okay? So standard grip over the top, the guy's gonna try and put pressure down. If I don't have this and the guy underhooks me, this sweep is gone, okay? So I would not be doing this now, right? I need to be here, like this, clasp the hand inside the hip, and I'm gonna use my leg, look. I'm gonna use my leg so my knee catches the inside of his hip under his tailbone, and I'm gonna create a fulcrum, okay? This is the same way that I would be retracting myself back into an open guard, like double leg open guard scenario, right? This is an open guard. Half guard is an open guard, but it's one leg specific, right? An open guard with two legs in is more familiar as like a butterfly guard. It could be any spider guard or any open guard really, okay? So this fulcrum here, see my foot hits the ground and it raises my knee, and that's what's gonna kick the guy over. So it's here, trap the wrist, okay? And I'm gonna turn him to the side, go like this. So pay attention to the leg detail. This knee, okay? Not the wrist, look at just this part here, okay? That's what brings the guy over. I switch the hip, and then I can come up, right? Or I can hip escape out, and then come up. Okay, now, watch just the wrist now, okay? The wrist, I'm gonna stuff the wrist down. I don't let it pass the line of my belt. And as the guy approaches, then I activate the leg, okay? So this thing's trapping us. Pay attention to this. Okay, it's here. And as I come over, the guy's gonna come forward, tilt, and now look, the arm is trapped. You can see the arm is trapped here. So it can't regain balance. It can't come back out, right? I'm stiff, I'm almost like, I'm keeping it trapped to my hip so it's totally locked. Like his wrist is now part of my hip bone. Okay, then I turn, block the hip, right? Again, I'll block the hip, and then I'll come up. Usually what I do is just accept the half guard and I come up looking for an underhook, right? I don't try to pass on my way up in this one because it's easier for me to turn the position over. It's easier for me to go from this to this, which is a very uncomfortable position for him. And then instead of me passing the guard, I'm looking to go straight to the mount. So this is a combo that would be linked. I don't know if you can visualize that. It's not really the point of this lesson, but the reason why I'll accept the half guard is because I'll try to get to the mount as the next step instead of the side control, which I see as personally a less powerful position, unless for me, okay? But that's if you have a 6 side control and you're like, man, I don't care about the mount. My side control is way better than my mount. Then your best position is side control. That's where you need to go, right? In which case you can pass out to try and come up, right? I'm just passing over because I prefer these positions. I feel like I have a very good game here. Okay, so you guys have questions about that one? That's the super basic one.
Can we just see it in slow motion, please?
Sure.
Just wanted to kind of welcome Dan Parsons.
Dan Parsons.
Hey.
Oh.
And Albert Hodgson, Baz.
That can't be real. Is that a
Lily,
fake out?
no, Jose, Abby.
Hi guys. Yeah,
It's
mate.
okay. Where's Sharky? Is Sharky in there?
Baz is here. I can't see Sharky.
Where's the kids? You got a kid? You got kids? Are you stealing the lesson fast, or you got kids?
They're both here.
Nice.
Hi.
What's up, guys?
They're both
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. I think I'm the most surprised by Dan. Dan, do you have your video off so most of the guys still don't know what you look like? Everybody else is like, who the hell's Dan? Parsons? Dan is also known as the famous Dan Parsons. In case you don't know about Dan. Okay. All right. So anyway, Elena, you said you wanted to see it in slow motion, right? Is there anybody else that had a question about a specific area? Because I can cover, for the sake of time, cover that area while I'm doing this in slow motion. Anybody?
Yeah. Have you got any tips to coax them into getting the sweep better? Like if you're feeling like they're just not leaning towards that side, are there any tips to sort of maybe start shifting them towards
well,
that sweep?
it comes down to patience. Okay, this is a baiting tactic. So you're trying to draw the guy in, and if you think about if you were hunting any prey, really, it requires a certain amount of patience when you're using a trap. If you're looking for something like a long shot, right, it's mostly about positioning. And although positioning is important here, it's not as important as being patient. So what happens is you're looking to draw the guy in. So you're making your position look weak, right? So that's the main part is I'll open my position, make it look like the guy has an underhook. So it's like this. Okay, so I'm doing it in slow motion, but I'm answering the question, okay? So this, Elena, you'll get your slow motion section here as well, okay? So, all right. I'm making my position look weak by doing this, right? Like I'm not I don't look like I'm in a good position right now. Like I'm not sitting up, I'm almost laying flat in a way. I'm not really in a half guard. I'm not doing anything, you know? Like it looks like from his side that there's something off. Now that's either gonna send one of two signals. Either he's gonna know something's up, which is smarter, or he's gonna get greedy, which is what we talked about yesterday, how to manipulate somebody's like they're gonna feel greedy or they're gonna feel fearful of the situation. You're doing this a little bit in this technique as well, but mostly it's about patience. Okay, so I'm here, trap the arm, right? Now, like I said, to bait the guy in, okay, so like, what's the technique to get the guy in? The technique to get the guy in is to open up the underhook. So this is where the greed comes in, right? The guy's gonna go, yes, underhook, perfect. If that happens to you, you gotta come out, look, block, grab the gi, stretch yourself back, but you gotta block here on the side of the neck and the shoulder, okay? Because you may have to really bail out now, because a real underhook is a real underhook, right? There's no fake underhook in this scenario. So when I'm here, right, as the guy's coming forward, so if I'm leaving the underhook, then I tuck my elbow down and my knee goes in and I push my hip into the side of his knee. So this would be the position with the knee. I'm gonna do this now, watch, I'm gonna enter my hip as well. So I'm gonna do this and then turn, okay? So this is in, the D fulcrum's coming through and I'm using my hip, okay? So this is for Elena, right? As you're coming through, look, and the guy's putting pressure, that'll then make it easier for me to tilt it. Then look, the guy's starting to maintain or starting to recover his balance, goes straight for the hip. Because I don't want this thing coming up. I need to make sure it's at a distance, okay? Then I turn, and then I can push the guy off, okay? Here. So it's this hand at the edge of the tilt has to block so the guy can't come back over. I'll just do it one more time. This is probably my favorite half guard sweep, actually, because it requires like no real skill, which I think is the best part of jiu-jitsu. Like if you don't have any skill, suddenly you can just make something work for you. That's like the best, to me, that's the best jiu-jitsu. No, I don't know, I don't even understand jiu-jitsu at all, and then I can just make this thing work. That's amazing, right? So when I give this to somebody, this type of sweep, and I see somebody do it like immediately, to me, that's the most incredible thing, because that means that the skill level for this technique can be very low, but then you have the opportunity that any black belt can create on the other side, which is the guy's lost his position, he's fumbling or he's running. right? So that's what I'm really after. I'm looking for that really kind of panicked reaction. So here, he's on the inside, the guy's coming through, block. I can open the elbow, but then I have to push, I have to make sure I can get into a position where I can push into the position, right? Because if I leave this out and the guy digs it, I'm done, right? So you cannot let the underhook happen. I can't stress that enough, okay? So come in, hook. The guy's coming forward, right? That's gonna help me with the tilt. Hand goes inside the block to hit, and then I turn, okay? So it's gonna be like this, pushing. The guy's gonna try to come up, right? And I'm coming through. Then I can pass. Is that covered for you guys?
That's great. Thank you.
Cool.
Nice. If it doesn't answer your question, or if it leads to another question, just ask me, because I want to make sure that it's absolutely clear, because this one's, because it's like a nice, easy one-off, you know, I would hate for you guys to lose something that's this valuable and this simple to execute.
Eleanor, did you manage to get what you wanted out of that?
Yeah, I just want to ask, what exactly is it that makes the sweep work?
Okay, there's a couple of different things, right? So there's, again, the most important thing is that you have patience, because you're leading the guy into a trap. The second thing is the fulcrum on the leg, right? So where my leg is doing this, so I'm literally just doing this. Here's my half guard, right? I'm like this on the leg. My foot touches, and it helps me to raise my knee. So this is the fulcrum, right? I'm going to use this again to change the position, but I'm going to use it in a different way. So it's my foot coming down, so my knee can raise. Okay, so that's the part that pushes the guy over to get the tilt. Okay, and the other most important thing, which I used to think was holding the wrist and making sure it's stuck to your hip. That's the primary item to begin the sequence. You know, if you were to break it apart, even though it's a one shot, it is a sequence if you break it apart. So to make the sweep work is patience, holding the sleeve, and then using the fulcrum of your leg to knock the guy over. Okay, and then lastly, if you wanted to add something, although it's not it's a very minor, but you should block the hip on the way over. It's not, you can still accomplish the sweep, but your chances of succeeding and completing it go way up if you block the hip on the way over. Okay, I'll show you again. Are you guys seeing okay from this angle, or is it better if I do it on the other side?
Angle is fine.
Okay, cool. Okay, so the first item has to happen, otherwise the sweep is never going to happen. Okay, second item is my leg. That's what tilts the guy over. You see it? Okay, of course, the underlying tactic that I'm using here is like a bear trap. So I have to be patient. I have to wait for the bear to come forward into the trap. So it's when the guy approaches, that's when I hit it. Okay, now he's on top and he wants to come back. Hand goes in and blocks the hip. This will ensure that I'm going to get the sweep. Now, once I do this, there's no way out. This is where you reach the point of 100% return. Okay, then I can come up. Okay, so see if I can escape my leg now, or even if I don't, put the hands over, I just come up and accept the half guard. So it's here. And anytime you're coming up anyway, a lot of times when you're passing, you put your hand on the hip. So you already set the pass because you're coming up with this component already. So that's another thing. It's very useful to do that. Your return goes way up once you have that. Okay. Anything else about that one you guys want to look at, or we can move right on to the next, which is going to be much more complex, but it's still good. Bueller?
I think she's good with that one.
Hello.
I think I understand it. You can go to the next one.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
All right. So like Sharky's the youngest guy in the group, so if he gets it, everybody else has to get it too. Or I hope so. Otherwise there's a 7-year-old that's smarter than you. It's not good for the rest of you. But technically they should be smarter than us anyway.
Saying hi, big shout to Riyadh and Igor.
Oh, what's up,
You
Riyadh?
guys can hear.
And Igor, what's up, man?
Cool.
How you doing? Bueller? Anybody? Silence? I cannot tell you how weird it is to talk to you guys. I know you're there and it's like totally silent. I'm like, okay, I guess you hear me.
Riyadh's typed in Wagwan my cherries.
What's up? Okay. I know Riyadh's into the cherubs lately. All right, so now the next one, right? This one's far more complex. It's something that you guys would have covered with me. Some of you guys have used it in the tournament, but I want to make sure that I can switch now so I know how to use this thing, right? You guys know the leg lever, right? There's a situation where you can actually take the back using the leg lever without bailing out of your guard. Okay, I'll show you the long road first, but the short road is way easier, of course, but you have to know how to do the long route, because if the short route isn't working, you need a bailout. Okay, so I'm going to show you the longest part of this. How much time do we have?
We're good. Probably about 20 minutes.
Okay, good. That's good. Because it's kind of long, so bear with me. Just need to know how quick I need to move on this. All right, half guard, right? First, half guard. Look, remember that thing with the knee where I tilted? Here's the fulcrum and I tilted. Okay, to escape the half guard. I showed some of you guys this before. To escape the half guard. So if I'm like, the guy's putting pressure and I'm missing, I have to do the same fulcrum. I block the ground with my foot, raise my knee, and enter into the top of the hip. So that way I can recover my guard into my open guard. That's what I was talking about before. So my knee is now in front of his hip to be able to block his hip. The same thing that I would have done with my hand is now with the knee. Okay, that's to help me get into a more open guard scenario. That's what I touched on briefly at the beginning, okay? Now, when I'm doing this next part, let's see if I can do it this way. What I want to do is I want to switch my leg. So I want to go from here to here, right? And I want to be able to take the guys back. But generally, if I do this, the guy's going to do some kind of knee slicing tactic, right? And then he's going to pass my guard this way. Okay, so I have to set it up in a way where the guy's overcommitted. So this hook is very useful, but it has a time and a place. Okay, so most of you guys know how to do this sort of very deep inside half guard. There's a sequence that I have a training partner who's started calling it dog fight. So if you know what a dog fight is, it's involved in the dog fight, but it's retracting away from the dog fight, which is, again, it's switching these lower leg hooks. So I have this leg lever, right? Which is this, put on the inside, and I pull the guy's knee to the side. So it helps me to get him to change positions. So he'll be moving like this, so his knee doesn't get broken or popped or damaged. Okay, now when I do something like that, I have to be deep on the inside. So I'm here. Okay, I'm like this. Okay, that way I can switch to come through. Now sometimes I can get up, right? I can start to get up on my knees to try and take the guys back. And sometimes I have to change positions to get back the other way to be able to sweep. All right, but in order for me to get from here to the back control, I've got to get this guy's hand above my head. So I need him to do this. Then I can switch my foot, right? And then I can come to the back. So I have to be able to hook the back of his leg. Here, okay? I have to be able to do this. Then I can use my hook to get across, okay? So it's from here. So I'm trying to take the guys back. The guy's bailing out, and I sit back as I switch, look. From this hook to this hook. So I'm just doing this, one to the next, but I need the guy to get up above me to do that. So I'm going here, then I switch, and I bail back. Then I can start to sit back and take the guys back. Okay? It doesn't look like much, but it's actually very useful. I've actually had it done to me as well. So I know that this thing is like, and I didn't want it to happen, and this thing is really, really good. Okay, so we need to know, first, that's the technique itself. But we need to know why it's going to happen and when to use it. Because even though there's a sort of back and forth, I got the guy's hand up here, whatever, I have to be able to do a couple of other things, okay? So the first thing I need to be able to do is reap the leg. So it's here, I'm inside, half guard, my hand goes underneath and I grab the hip, and I take his leg and I reap the guy's leg. So that's first, because when you do this, the guy's knee is going to either do this, it's going to pop through. He might try to come back on your leg like this, so your leg's on the inside. Or he'll pop his leg up like this to come through, right? So it's like that, okay? And now the guy's going to try and pass my guard, right? So this is, again, this is what I don't want. I don't want an underhook. Do you guys see how my arm is underhooked here? So I've got to make sure that I have the underhook here. If the guy's leg is up, this is even better, because as I bring him through, he wants to come back, and it's this rocking motion that happens, right? The rocking motion is what's gonna give me the space. So as I come through and he comes back, I ditch out the back door. But when I'm doing this, right, I'm switching my hook. So you're here. If the guy's knee is up, for example, I'll do the same thing. I'll turn him back. But if the guy's leg is down, so let's say the guy's knee is here, and I'm bringing him up and he retracts, it's easier for me to switch this hook, right? So I'm going from, look, half guard, right? So I'm trying to switch the hook. The guy's not letting me, so I switch my hook and I bail out the back and sit back. Okay? That's where I get into this sort of sequence, so I can get into the back control. So again, it's like this. You guys have this, already you have leg lever, right? You know this one. So the legs around. But if I can't get that, sometimes the guy tucks his leg, so I move him up so he comes back. Then I switch my hook, right? Now, no matter where the guy goes, because I have an underhook, I'm behind him now. So that rocking motion is gonna have to make him touch the ground. He has to balance himself. So when he balances himself, he leaves space. You guys see the space here? Can you see it? That gives me this the direction to come out. Hook, I'm gonna hip escape back so my hook stays deeper, and then I put my leg over. Okay, a lot of you guys are gonna probably do this, especially the beginning guys. You're gonna do this. You're here, you're like, yes, I got on the back, and then you're gonna be like, okay, great, I took the back. It's not gonna work like that, okay? Even though you can see the dummy, it's like, well, it looks like it works. Remember, this thing is lifeless and it's soft. What's gonna happen is the guy's gonna raise his hip. He's gonna try and reinsert his arm because you're only behind his shoulder for a moment. The guy's gonna try and reinsert his position. So the arm's gonna come back through and he's gonna try and face you again. So you have to hip escape back. I have to, look, my foot touches the ground. I move my bottom back. So it's almost like I'm trying to exit my knee. My knee comes back, then I can turn and I can get my hook in. So this thing's now a lever again. You guys understand what I mean by that? Because the knee wasn't a lever before, it was only a hook. It was not, it's only a hip escape.
Yep.
You guys are cool, great. Okay. So let's look at the leg position. This is the most important part about this. It's the timing from going here to here. This is it. This works best when the guy puts the leg up. Now when I hip escape back, I'm way behind him. Way behind him. Then I draw him back. Okay, you see how the leg is trapped here? So every time I come back now, the leg is locked. He can't defend the hook easily, and I can come over. Okay, this guy's knee has to raise up through the inside to come back here. Okay, so if I'm like this, holding his leg, it's very hard to defend the hook, especially if I cross this. Okay, very hard to defend this. I would say probably the guy's not going to defend it. Okay, so again. Have guard, right? You have to get your arm inside. You can use the leg lever, but if the leg lever is blocked, you come back. If the guy underhooks your arm, so it does the whizzer, so let's imagine this arm underhooking my arm. I can always turn the guy back by using the same hook with my knee, but watch. Fulcrum, knee comes up, hip bridges, the same sweep we just did, right? And I turn him to the other side. A lot of you guys know this sweep. If you don't, it's okay. Because remember, the recording is going to come up at the latest. All the recordings for the week will be up on the weekend. So if you guys don't understand some of this stuff, you can always go back and check it out, and you'll be able to watch it, you know, and repeat if you need a detail. Okay. So here, right? So I'm inside. The guy's hit his hook. I'm gonna look. I bring the guy up with my leg, so I'm trying to bring him up because I'm underneath with the underhook. If I'm underhooked, I'm not going to do this. Okay, I have to do this if I'm underhooked. Okay, so now I bring the guy up. He comes back. You see the legs popping up already. Like I'm not even manipulating the dummy, but it's natural for the leg position to start to come up. Then I can switch my hook, shrug the guy's shoulder off, and I hip escape back now. So I'm hooking, hip escape back, hook the hip, sit back, and then lock my second hook. Okay, you guys have questions about that one?
No, I don't, Professor. I understand it.
Sharky. How about the rest of you? How about the rest of you adults?
All good.
You guys are all good. You got that one. Okay, so especially if you have a partner, this one will be a really good one to drill. Okay, when you're using the dummy, you can see I'm propping the dummy up and I'm trying to make it look as natural as possible I can with the body position. But when you do it with a dummy, it's not gonna, you know, if you're doing it for the first time or you haven't experienced these positions or techniques, the whole thing's gonna fall apart on you. So what you need to do, I'm gonna do it the way the dummy would naturally fall so you guys can see what you're working with and what part to focus on, okay? If you're doing it by yourself and there's no person there, I'll show you the technique without the dummy, okay? So that way at least you can visualize and you can know what the movement is. I think some of you guys, that might help you. Okay, so here, all right, I'm not propping the dummy up, okay? Half guard, dig underneath, okay? Bring the guy up, down, up, and I switch. So my foot's just switched, okay? Then I'm gonna, watch, I shrug the shoulder off, and I'm gonna hit the skate back. So I'm doing like a reverse hit the skate, right? Grabbing, hit the skating, like a legit hit the skate, pulling the guy back and hooking. Or I can do this, cross face the guy, then put my hook in, then work the choke from here, okay? So again, just a dummy. So I'm gonna have to start from here. You can do this as well if you want to, and grab the gi. I used to do this, I don't do this anymore, okay? I used to do that, now I just grab the guy's hip. But when I was like purple belt, I think I used to do this a lot, like grab, because it was easier for me to pull the shoulder back. Even though I didn't know the reason for it, I knew that I could offset the position. So I like to grab the hip now because it gets me lower. Okay, so I'm here, right? I need to switch my hook, right? So I'm going up and down. I'm gonna switch my hook, bring my head back. So I gotta get underneath the arm, hook the hip. I see it, okay? Hip skate back, throw the hook over. I can cross face, I don't have to cross face. Reach for the neck, okay? Yeah.
Riyadh says, when pulling the guard back, wouldn't it be easier to pull the shoulder back?
Like when I was grabbing the gi? From here? From here, Riyadh?
Yeah, Riyadh's talking. He says, no, when you're hip escaping.
So so like if I had this and I just pulled the guy back?
Yes.
Okay. Is it easier? I think it's preference, you know? I think it's preference. What's easier for me is when I can get as close to exactly what I want with as much disguise or as little resistance. So like if the guy's resisting in the wrong area, for example, and I'm getting everything I want because the guy's focused on the wrong spot or I've made him focus on the wrong spot, this to me is the ultimate luxury. I'm like, perfect, that technique is exactly how I need it to be. If I'm getting some struggle in there, let's say I'm doing this one and that accomplishes that, and this is the easier one. But if I'm finding that same scenario and grabbing the hip, for example, let's say I do it from here, okay? I find that this is easier for me to grab the hip because I have a lot of alternatives here. So if I miss this, for example, I'm trying to get in here and it doesn't work, I can switch. You know, I can change, look, the guy comes back, I grab the sleeve, right? Something changes, come up. You know, anything could happen here, but that's a lot of resistance. So this is not an ideal technique to me. But if I can get in, for example, I use the same thing, the hip, and I come through, and everything works perfect, then that's the one that's going to be my preference. So is it easier? Easier is dependent upon what, to me, what type of resistance level you're going to get from the guy and how smooth you execute and how much of what you imagined you were going to get, how much of it you actually get. That's what I think is easier. So it's a hard question to answer. So in short, I would say, is it easier to grab this and pull back? The answer is, if it's easier for you, then yes. It's easier for me to grab the hip personally.
Okay, cool. We've got about 2.5 minutes.
And can we see the shortcut that you mentioned?
the shortcut that I mentioned. Okay, the shortcut's like this. I'll go inside. I'll try to bring the guy way up, like way up, and I'll go way down and use the leg lever as well. So I'll go in, let the guy tuck his leg back, right? So I gotta keep the knee from, I don't want this knee to come through, remember. I'll let the guy tuck the leg back, right? And then I'll move up. And then as the guy repositions, I'll move back. Okay, and even here, look, the dummies escape these guys, look. The hip is above the thigh, remember? So here I'll just come up and take the sweep. So again, you got to know if the hip is above the thigh, like when the transition changes, if it's below the guy, or below the leg, you're stagnating. Yeah. Okay. So guys, there's only 1 minute left. So I want to make sure that you guys really have this down. I know it's a lot. So I might actually do this again tomorrow as the first half, just because I really want you guys to make sure you can get a chance to work on this. But look, send me some messages. Oh, and I wanted to show you the drill too. So keep it. I might have to just film the drill and then send it to you guys in the group. But send me some messages if you want to work this out back and forth, because for sure there's going to be a lot of details we're going to have to adjust. All right, guys.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. I'll catch you later.
See you then.
Thank
Bye.
you guys.
See ya.
See you then.
Bye.
See you later, lads.
See you guys.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh yeah. Bye.
Bye.